names in his rhymes cause his memories. We running through New York so you never leave. Strap my lungs then we puffin' through with that, right? We're giving them some stories, they come back like manic this, manic that, while you crawling to me. The hell we can...
Okay guys, welcome back to the channel. So as you know, we've got the F36 4 Series, which is the 2019 model. And today, I know it's a bit early, but for some, it might be a bit too late, of the what to look for when buying a used 4 Series. Now, many people are going to be buying these as they're going to be wrote off, bought by insurance companies and bought in Copa and other places in car auctions. And, you know, people are going to repair them and use them for themselves because they're also going to be such low mileage. So today we're just going to go over what to look for when buying one of these cars. Okay guys, so the first thing you're going to want to look for when you first approach these cars is obviously the bumpers and the headlights. Now, as you know, these are LED headlights. They're already fitted. You don't need to go and fit them like we used to back in the days. These are already LEDs. They're going to be very expensive still now because they're still being used on this car, on the F36. The headlights, I believe, are coded to the car and programmed to the car, and they use an EEPROM chip. So when you're buying one of these, if your headlights are out, they're going to be very expensive, unless people like me or someone else end up mastering how to clear the data from them so used ones can be reused. As you know, I do all that already on the E Series, but we've got to figure out how to do it on the F Series. I think they've made it harder, but I'm sure we'll be able to work around it. Next one you're going to want to look for is look at the bumper, look at your bonnet, because as you know, the bonnet here is even lower than what it used to be on the E Series. So it's going to get a load of stone chips from motorway mileage. This one's only got 4,000 miles on it. The headlights itself are very, very nice and fresh. There's no problems at the moment. You want to make sure there's no cracks in the bumper. Just make sure all the front is perfect. Grills are fine. Everything looks fine on the front, because as you know, if you're going to be buying this car's going to be expensive. So it's something you have to look for immediately. The next one you're going to want to look for is look all around the bodywork and make sure there's no damage. Now, being this new 2019, it shouldn't have any kind of marks, any. You know, most people ain't going to have done much mileage, even if they've just bought it this year and now selling it. It shouldn't have any marks unless it's been unless stone chips from motorway mileage. The next one you're going to want to look for is tyres. Make sure all the tyres are good, which they probably will be if it's still low mileage. Make sure the brakes are good, calipers are good, discs are good. Make sure the locking wheel nuts where it's supposed to be. Look over the whole car. Look at the mirrors. Make sure the mirrors, the indicators are all working on them. Look at all the side panels. Make sure they're all straight. Door locks, catches. Make sure no people ain't trying to nick this, because as you know, these come for access system. They're keyless. People use a transformer and can easily steal these cars, so make sure it's never been stolen before. Make sure, as I say, all the tires are fine on the rear, because these are four-wheel drive, so you have to be careful that these don't eat the tires because of that reason. Next thing, you want to come around the rear, make sure everything on the rear is working fine. The parking sensors, make sure the boot is all nice and straight. The best thing you can do is do a HPI check. As you guys know, they're readily available on the internet. Everyone does them and it comes up with everything. I would check to find out if these cars were stolen, purely because they're keyless entry and anyone can get access to them via the key and manage to steal them. Even though they've updated all the CAS modules on them and whatnot, it still doesn't mean they can't be nicked. Now, the next thing you're going to want to go to is you're going to want to open doors up and make sure all the doors open perfectly. Make sure there's no water getting in, because water, as you see, these windows drop. When you open, you'll see right here, they go back up like a coupe. They drop down. If that gets stuck, you'll see right here, water will leak straight through there. So you're going to want to make sure these go up and down properly. Make sure if it's got Harman Kardon system, speakers are working. As I said, make sure all the door cards are proper, all the windows are fully functioning. Make sure there's no water in the footwell coming from behind the glove box. The scuttle panel, as you see, it spills up water in there, as you'll see right there. You just want to make sure all the trims are fine down the door as well. Make sure all the side skirts are fine. Just make sure this car's never been fillered, never anything on the body. Make sure as well, when you come into the rear of the car, make sure you check this rear seats. As you see, these are a bit dirty. Make sure, again, these windows drop, as you'll see here in the rear. You want to make sure all these windows drop and go back up, as you see there. Make sure they go back up. If they don't go back up, you're going to be in a big problem. The next one you're going to want to check is the boot area. Make sure the boot's fine. As you see, the boot is automatic, so you want to make sure that's fully working on these. Make sure the boot fully works and is fully functional. Make sure everything's in the boot that's meant to be in here. So as you'll see here, this is the BMW pack. You want to make sure that's in the boot right there. As you know, BMW don't give spare wheels anymore of these cars, you know, so you just gotta deal with it. But your locking wheel nut will be in here. There's your first aid kit right here as well, as you'll see right here. So make sure that's this is the motor for the electronic boot. So make sure that's all fully functional. Locking wheel nuts under there, as you'll see, tow hook, everything else you need. Now, obviously, as you'll see here, this is that panel. This is the back panel which drops down, which is like a sun visor. Now, you can remove it as you see there. Now, as you see here, this is the button for the electric boot. Make sure that's fully working. Just if it's ever been hit up from behind, it probably won't work anymore. Now, as you see, it shuts and locks itself. So, now the next one you're going to want to look for again is just go around all the doors, checking the windows and making sure they're all fully functional. Go up and down. Make sure the car is running perfectly as well. Make sure the idle is sitting perfectly if it's a diesel, as this one's a 420 diesel. You want to make sure that it's actually running nice and silent and nice and quiet like this one is. Make sure everything works inside the car. As I'm telling you, there's no dash lights on. Your best friend for you with this kind of car would be Ista Plus. As you guys know, I do it. This car runs perfectly off Ista Plus. You can update the software. You want to make sure the cluster's got no fault codes. There's nothing stored in the system, which I'll show you how to get into and make sure everything's up to date. So you press the menu button, press options, and you want to go back. You want to click my vehicle. Then you want to go down to vehicle status. Then what you can do here is check the front brake pads, vehicle check. You can do the engine oil, rear brake fluid. You can check all the stuff mandatory for the service info. You can also check the AdBlue. You know, this is diesel, it uses the AdBlue system, so that's got 7,000 miles left. You want to make sure the oil level's correct. Basically, you've got everything in here. This is for the dynamics. As you know, it's got Sport, Eco, as you'll see here, Sport, Sport Plus with the traction control off, which comes up like that. But if I change it, it'll go into Sport. And if I change it to Comfort, it will go into Comfort settings. We'll show you on there as well. Make sure the Eco Pro, make sure it all works fully functional. Now, Eco Pro is mostly for city driving. I usually use just Comfort, it's just normal. Make sure the gears going, because as you know, these are electric gear shifter. They've got an electronic handbrake on them. Make sure this is going to all gears perfectly. Also make sure the paddle shift works. You can test that on a test drive. Steering will feel light, but don't worry about it. This steering is really, really good on these cars with the four-wheel drive system. Make sure all the buttons work on the MBT. It's crucial you've got to, guys, make that sure that works. Heated seats, if this has it, which it probably will, make sure that all works. Your climate control panel, these are all expensive things that will be expensive at the time of buying this car still. And as they're still using the parts, these parts will seriously be still expensive. So make sure all this works. You don't want to be buying a car out of warranty, which many of you will be, and having a fork out for the parts, because the clusters are very expensive and very expensive to clear the data on them, even for a used one. So be sure to make sure you check all that. Make sure your auto lights work. Make sure the handbrake is pulling up properly. As I say, these have got an electronic brake on them, which hold the car on heels and hold the car. If you open the door, it will put it back into park. So you can't drive it with the door open and reverse it backwards. You make sure your parking sensors are working, which they're on. I don't know why. Just make sure everything's working. Like I say, under here is the USB port. Windows, make sure the window switches work. Make sure the vanity lights work. Make sure everything works on a steering control, voice command, Bluetooth. Make sure all the modules work in this car. As I say, guys, so if you buy a diesel one, you'll come here, and as you'll see right there, the AdBlue is right there. So that's where you'd do the AdBlue, and that's for the diesel. AdBlue is quite expensive, but it's not needed all the time. It's just to help with the DPF system. So what we're going to go ahead and do now, guys, is we're going to go over to the engine side. So as you'll see, guys, this is the B57 engine. Now, this engine is just like any other 2-litre diesel engine. As you'll see, it's the DPF system, and with a 1-litre turbo and 1 big turbo. Now, you've got to be aware of this, guys. They do fail on these like any other turbo diesel, but as being new, it's not going to fail just yet. Now, as you can see here, this is the intercooler pipe, and I believe over the years this went up splitting and probably cracking and need changing. You'll see here all these sensors as well. Now, I'm going to explain to you something about the DPF system. Now, the DPF system on this, as you know, is a Euro 6 compliant car. This has a passive and active DPF regen. Now, the active regen only happens when it's required by the ECU, and it's usually judged by the DPF pressure in the car. So it's not judged by just the amount of soot. So when this usually happens, you'll notice like a slightly higher temperature on the car. as well as reduced miles per gallon. And if the filter's really dirty, you'll notice a little bit of a smell coming from the DPF. But that's nothing to worry about, because one thing on these engines, which are better than a lot of the other DPF systems, is these ones use thermal panels on them in the engine, which heat the engine up and also heat the whole DPF system up quicker than what a normal diesel engine would do. Now, we don't know if there's going to be problems with the manifold. What I do know is the timing chain on this is a lot more reliable than the M47 engine. That being said, it's still going to have its oil leaks, still going to have its injector problems, it's still going to have its major problems as any car does. It's just about maintenance on it. If you can do the maintenance on it yourself, if you can look after it, you're going to save yourself a lot of money in the process. If you're planning to take this to the dealer a lot, the car's going to cost you more than this work. Now, as you'll see here, they've got electronic actuator, which is right there, as you can see, for the turbo. See it running straight to the manifold, for the manifold flap. And as you'll see, you've got all the boost pipes now. As you can see, this is all plastic with sensors wrapped to it as well. The engine cover itself is on top of the engine. It's not a very dirty engine, as you can see, being only 4,000 miles on it. But as you see, guys, the engine on here, there's not much to look for. Just make sure there's no injector codes, make sure there's no faults with turbos, make sure there's no DPF being clogged up, and AdBlue should stop that. But if people lack the maintenance on the AdBlue, then you will get issues. Another thing, the headlights, as I was just telling you about Mr. Coda, as you can see, all these different ballasts right here. One is for the Angel Eyes, one is for the Xenons. And as you'll see, these are programmed and coded to the car. They have got computers fitted to them, so you have to be aware of that when buying these cars. Don't think if you crack a headlight, you'll be able to go and buy a new one. It is going to be like that very, very expensive on these. As I say though, guys, just make sure everything on this car is running perfectly. These cars are good, will be good cars, I can tell you that already. Just by driving them and the way they are. They use the ZF 8 HP gearbox on them, so it's another ZF box, but it's the 8 HP gearbox. They're very, very good, them gearboxes. The ZF6 HP 19 is a very, very solid gearbox. I've had no issues, and like I say, I don't expect any issues with this 8-speed one. The whole idea of the 8-speed is to give better miles per gallon and to give better gas mileage, which it already is doing. This car is excellent and it can adapt to all your needs. So if you need it in the city and you don't want to use that much fuel, you can put it in eco mode. If you want to use it for normal day driving and not have to have power, you can use comfort mode. But if you want the power, you can unleash it completely and put it in Sport Plus and just open it up with a paddle shift. So BMW have given you the option of whatever you want to use on this car. I believe that BMW have unlocked all the potential in these cars finally after so many years and given people what they want, instead of making it a luxury business kind of car. So they're giving the power back to the people and the choice back to the people of what they want in their cars, not what they want in their cars for only certain people to buy them. They're giving it for a wide variety of everybody to have them, which is a lot better. BMW have really sorted their self out now, and I can tell you now, just from driving this F series, all the others will be exactly the same. They're cracking cars, cracking body style. Like I say, the headlights, they just look gorgeous. The whole car itself is a gorgeous car, but it will obviously be expensive to maintain because it's still new, parts are still relatively expensive, and common problems on them you'll probably notice as well. As it's X-Drive, if people have hit this upper curb, the axles will be completely destroyed. Because it's a four-wheel drive system, it's going to use 4 different axles coming from 2 different diffs, so you've got to be careful of that. It's going to have a front one and it's going to have a rear one, so it's going to be quite expensive long term. I can't see if this uses an electric water pump, but I believe it probably will. You can see the DPF on there already. It uses, as you'll see here, an electronic throttle body, which you'll see right there. By the looks of things, there don't seem to be no EGR, which is another good thing, I suppose. I've got rid of that situation already, which is a must, but it might be hidden up here under the engine cover, who knows. But as I see, guys, here's the EGR right here, guys. So the EGR valve is right there. As you see, it's going off the port there. It's electronic, fully electronic now. So they've completely redesigned this B47 engine. And like I say, you can hear it ticking away nicely just on its own. I believe this engine has got a lot of potential and will outlive the M47 and will go from hundreds of thousands of miles with no issues. The M47 gave a lot of problems and it required a lot of maintenance with the timing chain. As many of you guys were aware, it was on the back of the engine. BMW have rectified this problem, and this car will be perfect for anybody looking to buy a 2-litre diesel now. The only problem you're going to have is the DPF issue, but if you use the AdBlue and look after it and give it a good run and don't use it on short trips, it should cause you no issues. Overall, this car is a minter, And as I said, there's not many problems to go wrong with it. As I said, mostly it's going to be electronics. These cars are new, they're fitted with electronics. BMW are just learning again because they've changed over the electronic system from the E series, and they're learning again what the issues are, and when they find them, they rectify them, they recall them. Not only that, if they do find a serious fault, they change the part over, but then they learn again because they end up getting a part from a different manufacturer, and then that part starts failing until they learn again. It just happens. That's just the way life is. But in general, these cars, I haven't really heard of any issues or any common problems. All I've ever heard is that these cars are just great and everybody loves them. And you know what? I can actually see why. So thank you very much for watching, guys. As always, this is BMW Dr. Dean here. I hope you've enjoyed this video of going over the tour of the F36 model. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.